Welcome to After 40. I'm so excited to have you here with me today. If this is your first time listening, you are in for a treat. Today we have Patrick Kelley with us. If you have listened before, you'll know that we bring on people to talk about what to expect when you're in midlife. Some of that's great. Some of it's stuff to be wary of. Today, Patrick's going to tell us a little bit about both. Patrick is an accidental entrepreneur. He's the founder of Critical Path Security, and he's an expert for 11 Alive and NBC News. He's also been a mentor with the Mentor Project for about 4 years now. And I'll tell you from knowing Patrick that he's a person who, when he says yes to do something, he does it. And he's one of the busiest guys I know. So it's not an easy thing for him to do, but somehow he's able to pull a rabbit out of a hat all the time. And the other thing is that he's driven by empathy. He's somebody who really is able to take a look at somebody else and see what it's like to be in their shoes. I can see it and feel it when I'm interacting with Patrick and how he's able to do that. And we all need people like Patrick in our lives who make the world a better place. So thank you for coming on, Patrick. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
So Patrick, tell me and everyone else about what you mean by being an accidental entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's something that just happened upon me as I was growing up. I was born in rural America and I was raised in rural America. My first jobs were very physical and menial, mowing the grass at the post office and cleaning the trash cans out at the Department of Family and Children's Services and a lot of things like that. There's a DNA that's in the culture of the towns that I grew up in it was more physical. It was more farming and more, being tied directly into that community, that being presented with opportunities to travel the world and be involved in cybersecurity and interact, with like universities like MIT and Berkeley and Stanford, were just things that growing up were just way beyond my wildest imaginations. But that work ethic, that was baked into me by my parents and my grandparents, and how you do what you're supposed to do, and you do what you need to do. It built that fabric in to where I think it helped me capture opportunities that are really quite rare from someone from my background.
I love that. And you know what? I think that a lot of people don't even understand the value in that, in the physical, going out and doing things. You said mowing lawns. I had like a lawn mowing business also. I'd go mowing lawns around the neighborhood, and I had to in my own house. So I get that. I totally understand what you're talking about. And it does make you think about things. But here you went from physical to cyber security. That's a big leap. Like, one is very physically motivated and the other one isn't. How'd you make that leap?
Um, you know, I, I've always strived to be intelligent, because that's actually surprisingly hard to do, even now in a lot of rural communities. The resources that you have presented to you don't really lead in that direction. We're still very resource poor in rural parts of the United States, and I really wanted to break out of that. I wanted to break that shell. I wanted to go and do things that were just crazy and different, and want to be smart. I mean, if I'm really being blunt about it, and I remember this very. I'd owned an IT company, a little managed IT company for a while, and I was very, very proud of it. And we did a great job. But there was this movie, and I know some people here have probably seen it, but Good Will Hunting.
I love that movie.
Yeah, and there were some correlations that hit me very strongly between Robin and Damon and their interactions and the backstory behind it. And so I realized, and this is a fun learning tip for those that are listening, that for quite some time, Berkeley, they used to put all of their video lectures all of their video lectures online a week after they were taught in the classroom. And they were put there so that students that were enrolled there could go back and review them in case they missed something. Um, Fun fact, I was able to watch about 5 or 6 years worth of course studies across many different disciplines, from computer science to psychology, sociology, cognitive neuroscience, peace and conflict studies, classic literature. Um, and my head just exploded in a most amazing way, because there's just this fountain of information that I had right in front of me, and that led me to California, to where I was given amazing opportunities in cybersecurity, and then they led back here to where I've been able to be around the most brilliant minds that I've ever known for 25 years. And each day I come to work, I kind of look around and go, "What the heck am I doing here?" But I think that's kind of been life for me. Is there's these opportunities that are presented at just these moments, and you take advantage of them, and you look around and you kind of go, what's going on? This is not where I thought I would be in the most incredible way possible.
So basically, you've always been a person who says yes. You are very busy. It was the pandemic, and you and I got on a call, and I said, "Hey, would you like to do a whole lot more work?" And
Hmm.
it's for giving back to others. Would you like to mentor others for free in your spare time? You didn't have spare time, but you said yes.
Hmm.
So that's never stopped for you. So you were young and you were looking for those open doors, and in midlife, open doors are, it sounds like, very attractive to you. You're going right through them. Is that how you are?
Well, um, mentoring is different for me. Um, I mentioned some of the upbringing, and when I was younger, the school bus would drop me off in front of the Department of Family and Children's Service building in my town, and my mom worked there. She is a caseworker, and each day I would be dropped off there, and I was young. I was, I think, probably 9 or 10 at the time, and I would play in the lobby with the other kids that were there, and their parents were there getting support, or their case managed, all these things. And I remember that nobody really gave those kids a lot of attention, and the floors were always dirty, and the toys were always broken. And I started correlating that, there's this belief that these kids were broken. And I think a
Um,
little bit that I felt that way, being like where I was from, and where I dreamed, that I was going to go, and that there are people that came along in that path, and they helped me. That you don't get from where I was to where I am without having a lot of people that didn't have any time, and a lot of people that couldn't make the time, but somehow they did.
yeah.
So mentoring for me is, it's very much a trying, um, humbly, to go back and try to help those. And I've been doing it, I don't know, 20 something years. The Children's Haven is something I'm incredibly involved in today. Very similar situations. So mentoring, you just don't get where I am without it. And I'm still being mentored at 47 because there's still so much I have to learn.
I love that you say that because it's true. Everybody has mentors and needs mentors, and you never stop being one or needing one ever in your life. Um, did you have one when you went into cybersecurity? How did you land in that field, and were mentors involved in that?
Yeah, I did. So there's this guy. So I gotten started in cybersecurity before it really existed. Like, we were doing things with security and IT, but it wasn't this. And so there was this gentleman, Rick Hudson. God, I was a kid. I was 22. And, I started where most of us did at the time, which is probably breaking into systems that we shouldn't, and poking things that we shouldn't. And I remember Rick came along, and we were working at this company called Encanta at the time, and he was so candid and so caring about, you're really, really smart, but you need some guidance, or going to go to jail. And he was very kind, but he was very matter of fact. So when it came to getting into cybersecurity, and truly going in that direction, Rick was the very first one. And then there was this gentleman, Ganjar Aman Sentosa. I hope he listens to this. um, but I was supposed to go to California and work in just a typical generalist IT position. And I interviewed with this guy named Ganjar, and he actually fought for me to be placed on the cybersecurity team at this company called Big Five. And to be fair, like my entire world just changed. um, I'd been around security in the time between and done stuff, but Ganjar was very diligent with the rest of the group of this guy needs to be here. There's a plan for him here. Um, I drove Ganjar crazy, but I hope he hears this and he knows how much it meant.
So, wow, that's kind of a cool turnaround for you.
Mhm.
That you had somebody that it's almost like having a guardian angel in a way that is saying,
Yes.
"Oh, no, 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 wrong direction, go this way." And
Yeah.
I know most people, myself included, have gone through life, and when we reflect, we can say, "Wow, yes, this person stepped in at a certain time." We can usually all think of a person who may have stepped in that we didn't even realize at the time was mentoring us or that was guiding us or took an interest in us until after we think about it. And
Yeah.
that's pretty cool that you did that. So tell me now, you've been involved in cybersecurity for like how many years? Like 20 years or something?
20, 27,
Wow.
27 years. Yeah. All
So
all together.
what should we know? Like you now I ask that with knowing that I have sat in on some of your talks that were absolutely earth shaking. You spoke to a bunch of kids in Argentina, and I was on that call and I was
That was neat.
blown away, as were all of the parents and all of the kids that were on that call.
What a
And
cool moment.
it was so cool. So, but just tell me, like, as midlifers, what do we need to know? What are like the top 10 things that we should know about cybersecurity that are good or that we should be wary about?
So I'm going to throw a twist on this one, because I, I think terrifying everyone has been pretty well played.
Yes, I
um,
think you're right.
I think when I turn on the news that even at this point, um, I'm a little terrified. But here's a neat place we are, especially as midlifers. Um, and I'm going to throw a spin on another controversial topic as well, which is like chat GPT, LLMs, and things like this. Um, they provide this very interesting way of someone midlifer that's maybe looking at a career change. Maybe they've been like I have a guy here that was a pastry chef for 20 something years, and now he's one of the most brilliant penetration testers that I've ever seen.
Wow, that's
Um,
cool.
but resources such as like ChatGPT and these learning language model, these LLMs, they provide these opportunities to learn things so much faster than we ever have been able to do before. And they even give you the opportunity to request it to teach you different. Like I can't be the only person that was in a classroom, and I had to get through it, but I didn't understand the way that the professor or the teacher was delivering the information. Right? There's always that disconnect in communication between people, and especially with complex topics. With like GPT and OpenAI and these other things that are out there, it has the ability to phrase things in ways that are more relative to you.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to cybersecurity, the first thing I think about right now is that as the threats and as the challenges that we're facing get so much harder, the ability for individuals to go and learn and to be a part of this and become very successful and become brilliant contributors to this space is really greater than it's ever been before. You
Yeah.
don't have to sit in a coffee house like I did for hundreds of hours watching, taped over, lectures from the other side of the coast. Like you can sit down and ask GPT to like teach you about quantum physics, and in a weekend you'll probably have a pretty good beat on it. So I think when I think about cybersecurity, one, things are scary. Um, Attacks are getting more complex. It is getting harder to defend. However, I think the barrier of entry for people that want to get into this field is actually gotten easier.
Oh, that's good. And is this you mentioned a pastry chef changing his career, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
it was
Um,
cool.
is cybersecurity something that is that typical for somebody to say have a career for a while and then switch it midway, in their lives?
I think it's getting more common, and I believe a lot of the drivers can be financial, though I would
Mhm.
strongly advise that no one get into cybersecurity for the money. It it pays well, but money is relative. You know,
That's
it
true.
it and when you're doing 12, 14 hours a day you know to defend your organization or defend a customer, the money loses its luster. Your heart has to be in the mission.
Yeah.
And in fact, I used to say that you know cybersecurity is less of a profession and more of a calling. It has to be something that you're really bought into. Um, but oddly enough, um, my manager at a SOC, it used to be Army Infantry, 11th Infantry. He only got into cybersecurity towards the very, very end of his career in the Army. The pastry chef that works here, which is, it's amazing how much talent that you have from working in a line in the kitchen and having to cooperate with others and work together as a team. How those just align so amazingly into working in cybersecurity. Um, in fact, our project manager, one of our project managers here was actually a surgical tech
Oh,
at our
wow.
last job. So, but she has the skill set of dealing in high stress and having to be very specific and very accurate and holding a whole team together in a very tough situation, right? It's quite life threatening at times in surgical room, and those skill sets really translate very well. You just have to make them relatable, so that
Mhm.
they can basically you just have to create the bridge. And for some reason or another, the team here at Critical Path and Lyrgus have done a great job of building bridges.
I can see that. You made some good points that I wouldn't have put together. There are skills that we gather and areas of expertise that we gather through our lives, and sometimes they're very well translatable to something else,
Mhm.
that may look and seem completely different, like going from pastry to
Pastry chef.
to something in tech is sounds like a big leap, but now that you've explained it, surgical tech, pastry chef, cybersecurity, the way that you talked about it in the same kind of line in the same way, um,
It
makes it
works.
very easy to understand. Because I think that most people, when they think of cybersecurity, it's something else somewhere. You can't see it. You don't know what it is. It's out there. And most people are like, la, 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 I don't want to know anything about it because it sounds scary. But
Yeah.
you said that, it's very stressful and it can be very tense. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Oh yes. Um, so cybersecurity is incredibly stressful. It is easily one of the most stressful careers I could have ever imagined being in. Imposter syndrome, for one, is something that I like to highlight because it's something that we in the industry really have to get our heads around very, very quickly. Imposter syndrome is is a really interesting bit. I'm sure everybody's mostly familiar with it. But, someone that has imposter syndrome, they already struggle with validating like why they should be here. And so they will typically work a lot harder. Um, they will commit a lot harder than the people around them, and they will become overachievers. And through all of that effort, they keep raising the bar, raising the bar, raising the
Mm.
bar. Well, burnout happens,
Mm.
because they're burning so hot and they're putting in so much effort. And then when they burn out, it validates their imposter
Oh.
syndrome. And so now this person that was more than qualified to be here, more than validated to be here. I struggle with this every day myself. They will burn themselves out on the quest to feel like they belong. Now, their confidence is broken. Their belief, in what they can
Mhm.
do is broken. So we really have to get in front of that. And one thing I think helps is, as an employer, I force PTO. And it's controversial, but
Can
I
you
don't like
define
it.
that?
Yeah, so I don't like, and this, again, this is controversial, but I don't like to pay out PTO. I want people to take their PTO, because if you have ever sat in one of Jocko Willick's talks, one thing that he mentions is that a well-rested team is the most productive team and
So
the,
you
the
like
best
them to take
performing
their
team.
paid time off.
Yes.
Their
So
PTO is paid time off.
yes, I do. And actually, Friday at 5, I play this song on the main floor. It's "Closing Time" by Semisonic. I don't know
Oh,
if anybody has heard it. But you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And the rule when I fire that song up on the floor is that everyone has until the end of the song to have all of their stuff in their bag packed and be out the exit door before the song finishes.
wow, I think
Um,
everybody's gonna wanna come work for you.
I um, I don't want 60-hour workers. I
Yeah,
want really, really sharp 40-hour workers. And I don't want someone that's here 16 months. I want somebody that's here 20 years.
yeah.
So I know that people don't get into cybersecurity because they want to be mediocre at their job. You could do that anywhere else. So I already know that they're accelerating themselves. I think the important part of leadership and building sustainable teams and dealing with the stress of cyber is that someone has to come along and press the brake pedal.
Yeah.
It's okay to go fast for a while, but now we need to take a minute, and we need to breathe, and we need to just kind of be in this spot, and then we go again.
I think that's brilliant. I love the way you think. I love the way you work. I've had the pleasure of getting to see you and how you operate, and you have a calm about you that I think even if there's something critical happening, you're very calm and a leader who looks at the mental health and well-being of their employees is going to have a very well run organization. And I think that that's really wonderful that you said that. That's an insight that comes from having lived on the other side, usually, that a person has
Yeah,
had those 60-hour weeks, lived the imposter syndrome, had a little bit of burnout here and there. And I love that you have that wisdom and you are able to say, no, 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 it stops now. And I'm going to run things the way that I know they should run. So, what a refreshing thing to know that there are organizations being run like that and
I,
that it's something that people should ask for also.
I wish I had known sooner, because I'm a very big fan of kind of extreme ownership. And if you're going to accept accolades, you have to admit fault. And
Mhm.
I don't think that I was very good at that. I don't think that's always been a skill that I had. Building startups is inherently incredibly stressful, and you're not always calm. I can't even sort of mention, or really even count all the days that we came in here and the plumbing was busted and it's in the floor and part of the building is on fire. And like there's so many, I mean, truly, there's so many things that, and then driving a brand new startup through a pandemic, like you're really worried. Will your staff survive? Will their family live?
Mhm.
Are you making decisions that's going to put them in harm's way? Um, and how do you reconcile that if something happens to them? And I'm not the sole owner of Critical Path, so I have some thoughts that I have to almost compel others to go along with as well. I'm glad that I'm here now. If I were to go back and tell someone or tell myself 20 something years ago, it would have been everything's going to be okay because there literally is no other choice.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good advice. And you know what? That's good advice for moving forward too.
Yep.
Good advice all around. Well, Patrick, I
Thank you.
hope that people will check out Critical Path Security and tell me where people can find you online and anywhere else so that they can look up more about you. Other than the Mentor Project, you can check out mentorproject.org too. But you have an amazing bio.
Thank you. I think the best place to find me is probably on LinkedIn. And it really depends on what you're trying to find. On Twitter, I'm there, but I'm very much about my personal life. So you're going to hear more about my thoughts on mental health. Probably a lot of pictures with me and my dog decompressing after a long day. You're going to see a lot of dog pictures. But from a professional mentoring point of view, it's probably going to be LinkedIn, and I'm not too hard to find. It's me with a newsboy hat on.
Okay. Well, Patrick, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. We are
Thank you.
here to make sure that people 40 and older understand that there are things to look forward to. And I love the wisdom that you dropped for all of us today. So, anyway, I will be putting in the show notes ways that people can find you. And I will also be adding in the transcript as well. So, thank you,
Thank you.
Patrick, for joining today. You're amazing, and I'm fortunate to know you.
Thank you. I feel the same way. I hope you have a wonderful day, and the listeners out there. Thank you for taking the time.
Take care.
Take care.